In this presentation, we will look at procurement and contract management. Here is a famous saying about procurement and contracting. When there is a negotiation, there is a hope for agreement. Before we start, I will first introduce myself. Hey, this is Amy Law, your presenter. I have been working in IT for over 20 years in pipelines, energy regulator, oil and gas, utilities, transportations, and telecommunications. I have managed projects for over 15 years in IT applications and infrastructure, system and data migration, cybersecurity, ECM, SAP, process improvement, and office facilities. In terms of education, I completed bachelor and master in computer science from the University of Calgary. I received my PMP in 2006. I also completed certifications in project management, change management, ISO 27001, Information Security Management System, and ITIL. This presentation will help you to increase your confidence with procurement management. It will identify and mitigate risk associated with procurement, and it will review contracting processes, templates, and examples. If you are about to take the PMP exam, this presentation can help you to reduce preparation time for the procurement management area. Here are some definitions. Procurement is a process of finding and agreeing to terms and buying goods, services, or works from an external source, often through a competitive bidding process. Procurement management is the processes required to do procurement. Supply chain is a system of organizations, people, activities, and resources involved to supply a product or service to a consumer. Supplier is a person or organization that provides a product or service. This is also known as vendor, contractor, or seller. A purchase order, also known as PO, is a commercial agreement issued by a buyer to a seller indicating types, quantities, and prices for products or services. Quotations and tenders are price-driven. Proposals are technical solution-driven. A third-party agreement involves a person who is not a party to a contract, but is involved with the transaction. In a single sourcing, a buyer has choices and can pick one source from many choices. In a sole sourcing, a buyer has one company in selection. This is like a monopoly. Contract is an agreement in which a buyer agrees to procure goods and/or services from a seller. Service level agreement, also known as SLA, is a commitment between a service provider and a client. It is a document defining the level of service expected by the client and how the service will be measured. Statement of work, also known as SOW, is a document defining all aspects of a project. Outsourcing is an agreement in which a company hires another company to be responsible for a planned activity that is done internally. Here is a list of benefits to outsourcing. Some companies do not track internal operating costs. Having another company to manage the specific internal activities under a fixed pricing will enable a better control of the operating cost. This will also help to improve company focus. For example, a bank can outsource the IT department to an external technology company so that the bank can focus on their clients, investments, and other financial-related businesses. This will also free up internal resources for other priorities. Finally, this will enable the company to transfer and share risk with another company. Contracts and procurement are highly interdependent with project management, scope, time, cost, human resources, quality, risk, and communication. For example, we bill WBS, including contracts and procurement activities. Time constraint is critical, as in Y2K project. We also need to define cost constraints because the nature of a contract at fixed price is quite different from the time and materials. We need to engage human resources to identify available and capable people to ensure productivity. When it comes to procurement risk, we can classify them as services, materials, and performance, in addition to project risk. We also need to ensure specification is quality assured. Last but not least, we need to define the communication directives so that we can build a change model focusing on awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. Here is a list of typical procurement steps. First, we define a project and prepare a long list of potential candidates. Then we send out a request letter of interest. After we receive the responses, we prepare a short list, usually ending up from 2 to 4 candidates. And we issue a request for proposal, also known as RFP. After we receive the responses, we interview the candidate and select a preferred vendor. Upon the acceptance of the agreement, we meet with the preferred vendor and execute agreement. To close the loop, we notify unsuccessful vendor. Here is a typical procurement process. We have 6 process groups, including planned purchases and acquisitions, planned contracting, request sellers' responses, select sellers, contract administration, and contract closure. Some of the key deliverables and objectives include procurement plan, bidders list, requisition initiation, RFP, RFQ, proposal and quotation, bid analysis, negotiation, contract execution, contract administration, and contract closeout. In the planned purchases and acquisitions process group, we define project requirements and determine either to buy or bill. Then we create a contract package breakdown structure and procurement schedule. In the contract package, we define budget constraints and quality requirements. We also identify sourcing vendors, specification types, and contract types. All of this information will be documented in the procurement plan. In the planned contracting process group, we create purchase acquisition, solicitation package, invitation to bid, bid and contract security, terms and conditions, standard forms, pre-qualification of bidders, and partnering. In the request sellers responses process group, we create communication rules and offer submission and opening. In the select sellers process group, we identify evaluation criteria, determine price fixing, adhere to communication rules, and complete contract award. In the contract administration process group, we control scope, cost, schedule, quality, and risk. We handle materials, waiver of contract right, and preventing and resolving disputes. In the contract closure process group, we complete contract documentation, product verification, work documentation, formal product acceptance, procurement audit, vendor performance evaluation, and lessons learned. Thank you very much for your time. Please contact me for additional project management templates and samples. Here's my contact information.